Documents are in the case file.
Tonight, indications the FBI may be getting close to solving a Seattle assassination.
I'm optimistic.
Tom Wales, the only federal prosecutor believed to have been murdered in the line of duty.
Multiple rounds were shot.
A Cairo 7 investigation examines the evidence and the clues that could help catch the killer.
It's just a huge loss, and so the unfairness to his family, to his 2 children, it causes us to suffer for them.
18 years after the assassination of Assistant U.S. Attorney Tom Wales, investigators believe they are getting closer to solving it.
KIRO 7's Dave Wagner has been looking into the case and also talking to investigators. Dave.
The special agent in charge of the Seattle FBI tells me the Wales case is his highest priority, and the Bureau is devoting more resources to find his killer. Tonight, we take you back to that October day in 2001 that left the government reeling and a family grieving.
He is one of the few men I know who had the most integrity I've ever seen.
It is a place of peace just down the hill from where violence left a family grieving.
My father's murder was an attack on the institutions of the United States.
And a government looking for a killer.
This was a violent crime committed against one of our own.
In Seattle's Tony Queen Anne neighborhood, you'll find people in positions of power. And the place federal prosecutor Tom Wales called home.
The black smoke and fire.
1 month after the terrorist attacks of September 11th, 2001, Wales was working at night on a computer in his basement when a gunman opened fire, shooting through a window.
His condition at this time is unknown.
He was hit with multiple rounds, but managed to dial 911 before he lost consciousness.
At the time of his murder, Wales was a specialist in white-collar crime, prosecuting people who might have the resources to carry out a hit.
I think every prosecutor out there faces a similar concern that those individuals that they are pursuing cases against are going to be unhappy with that activity.
Close friend Ralph Fascitelli told me Wales had expressed concern a week before his killing about a pilot in Bellevue. Wales had prosecuted him in a fraud case. Fascitelli said he contacted the FBI about the pilot, but says agents didn't return his call.
It's frustrating, you know. It seems like they've had a prime suspect from day one, somebody who had a motive, somebody who I know Tom was wary of.
And we take every one of those threats seriously because they are. We deal with some very bad customers in the federal system, and it's imperative that we do everything possible to protect our partners on the prosecutive side.
This is a Makarov.
The gun used to kill Wales was Russian-made, but had a replacement barrel.
The unique item with this barrel is that the barrel is silver. The gun's black.
In 2018,
It is not acceptable that killer remains unpunished.
investigators said evidence pointed to Wales being murdered by a professional hitman. This is a sketch of a man witnesses saw walk quickly from the scene to a parked car and drive away.
He was careful on the night of the murder to avoid setting off floodlights in the yard that were attached to motion detectors, leading investigators to believe that this was a carefully planned execution.
After the murder, the FBI received a letter from Las Vegas, written by a person purporting to be the gunman. The return address included the name Gidget.
It's very possible that this person used the word Gidget in prior parts of his life.
Do you believe more than one person has information about how Tom Wales was killed?
Yes, I do.
This past August, a federal grand jury indicted Shauna Reed of Everett, accusing her of making false statements about a suspect who bragged about killing Tom Wales.
I think they would dearly like to have her help herself by helping them in their investigation, and that is by telling the truth.
Beyond the courtroom, Wales was an outspoken leader against gun violence. He worked with Washington Ceasefire, advocating for gun control.
We lose the equivalent of 2 busloads of kids to firearm violence every week in this country.
But would pushing trigger locks really drive someone to kill Tom Wales? The FBI isn't tipping its hand now, but investigators did in 2018.
That has been investigated, and for right now, it's not something that we are fond of as a working theory for the case.
Finding people who loathed Tom Wales is tough. Finding those who loved him is easy.
It's just a huge loss, and so the unfairness to his family, to his 2 children, it causes us to suffer for them.
Wales grew up in Boston and attended Milton Academy, a college prep school. He was roommates with Joseph Kennedy, the son of Robert Kennedy, who was assassinated in 1968. After graduating from Harvard, then law school, Wales landed a job with a prestigious law firm in New York City, but left it to become a prosecutor in the Pacific Northwest.
He didn't just, think that his job was to put people in jail for the maximum amount of time. He believed in justice.
Wales' children say Washington was a place he could explore.
He loved the outdoors. I think it's because of how he grew up. He loved camping, hiking, mountaineering. When I was a kid, we climbed Mount St. Helens, Mount Adams, Mount Shasta several times. I think Shasta was probably our favorite mountain.
The one thing I remember the most is just how much my father would encourage me to try my best and to see how far I could go. He always believed that even though I was a young girl, or a young woman, that I could climb as high or even higher than Tommy. And I eventually did when I climbed Mount Rainier and scattered his ashes in memory of our father.
As seasons come and go at Thomas Wales Park near Lake Union, his family still grieves.
Even after he's gone, he's basically the voice in the back of your head saying, you really need to do the right thing by this person.
A killer remains unpunished.
I see what they have gone through for the last 18 years. I see the need for the family to have closure in this matter, and that is a driving factor, absolutely.
Investigators remain undeterred.
Out of the several thousand cases that we have active here in the Seattle division, this is our top priority.
Do you feel like you're getting close?
I do. And I'm optimistic. We are making progress.
If my brother and I have any wisdom to share as a result of this awful, violent tragedy, it is patience and perseverance, and we have both.
This is the 18th holiday season that Tom Wales' children have been without their father. The Tom Wales Task Force is looking for information that may help solve this case. If you have information, the number to call is 1-800-CALL-FBI. You can also email tips to walestips@fbi.gov.